Let's talk about line work. I'm going to do a bit of practical and then I'm going to show you some ready-made stuff. So first of all, working in the blackbook, what you're going to need, I use a mechanical pencil, right? Just because it's a lot better than sharpening pencils all the time. I just used to work with wooden pencils actually, but sharpening started to get me down. Some people use a lead holder, which is sort of like the tippity top for artists. A lot of comic illustrators and illustrators use lead holders. I've never really got round to it, to be honest. I prefer my little Rotring 0.5, which is what this is. And I've always got the leads for it, so I'm loath to change it right now. So first is drawing lines. This seems like the easiest thing in the world, but I know that a lot of people really struggle with it. So first of all, what I would say is, in a sketch stage, working with a pencil, do not hesitate. Don't be shy. Get your line down. Get down fast, like that. You know, that's what erasers are for, right? This is a high polymer eraser. I can recommend. Thanks, Chris Delaney, for putting me onto these ones. Really, really cool. This is what erasers are for. Make it swift, make it sure, know where you're going. This is something that you learn when you paint, by the way. The principle is the same, which is if I'm going from there to there, that's where I go. I go swift and sure. I don't worry about making a mistake. I don't worry about any of that. With paint, you don't worry about making a mistake because the fact is paint is opaque and will cover. With pencil, you don't care because the eraser, right? The eraser is your secret weapon. So this is just for blackbook work I'm talking about anyway, but I'm making the comparison because it's a comparison worth making. So I've done 6 lines there. Now I'm going to add that you probably need, now you've probably been recommended this by other people as well. I saw the other day, I think I was watching Grimm the other day at the Arrtx Block. Top man, go and watch him. He's got loads of great videos there. This is a Pigmographic one. And as an all-round outliner, this is a superb pen for your blackbook work. Really, really good. The ink is archival, which means it will last a long time. Unlike a lot of pens which don't have archival ink, if you're working with biros, stuff like that, that is non-archival. All that is going to degrade, and it's going to degrade a lot quicker than you think. 20 years seems like a long time until you've got artwork that's 30 years old, and then suddenly it's like, yeah, not so good. Anyway, Pigmographic 1. It's got a nice sort of slim fibrous nib on it. I have to warn you about these nibs is that they do break down and they become what somebody has described. In fact, Ethan Van Sciver, the comic artist, there you go, nice thickness there. You can get thinner lines out of it on a strokey as well, a strokey little technique. Ethan Van Sciver has said that once the nib breaks down, they do break down quite quick on the Pigma one. It goes from a nice thin sort of outline to a much more unpredictable, fatter line. Now that's fine by me because I work with fat black graphic lines. I mean, also I should probably say that just because it's sort of, you know, he always describes it like turning into a rag. The end turns into a sort of soppy rag. But the fact is that if you can control that and have a technique where you can kind of control that, it doesn't really matter very much, then you can still do good things with it. Now, inking lines, horizontal lines, you know, like this. You can go slow, or you can go fast, whichever you prefer. Now, what I might add, right, there are no rules to this. And the reason there are no rules to this is because the way you ink and the way you lay down anything from graphite to ink to paint to whatever it is on the paper or canvas or whatever, that's part of your style. So for instance, there are artists among us, and I'm one of them. We very rarely use a straight edge. Very, very rarely. it will be something very special for me to use a straight edge. I do have a straight edge, but as you can see, it is an exceptionally old one. It's even, you know, the front of it snapped off years ago because my dog bit it. Oh look, he bit it on the end there as well. It's absolutely ruined, as you can see, because I don't really use it that much. I generally use it if I need to measure anything. I'll just use the centimeters or the inches on that side, and if I really need to do something, then I'll use, as in draw a really straight line, then I will use the straight edge. Otherwise I won't use the straight edge because it's part of my style. What I realized is you can build a style instead of using a straight edge, learning to draw straight lines instead. And you may say, well, they're not very perfect. I don't need them to be perfect. In fact, I need them not to be perfect, because your eye and your brain are really good at discerning detail without you even noticing. Your subconscious is picking up loads and loads of information about a piece when you look at it. And that's why when you look at a piece, you already know, you can feel that the artist, what they call it in art, they call it the evidence of the poor. I think that's what Laurent Monk calls it, the evidence of the poor. Seeing the artist's hand at work. Now, in graphic work, you can't see it as much. And by the way, I'm not knocking use of a straight edge. If you look at Miedo's work, he does straight edge work absolutely beautifully. Uses a straight edge to great precision and effect. Gorgeous. I can look at his work all day long. If you want to do it, do it. Use a straight edge. It's about finding your style, though. Maybe you'll find that a straight edge doesn't suit you. It didn't suit me, which is why I stopped using them. I found that using straight edges really started to hold me up. Now, I want to come to the materials again. Now this, what I've got here, this is basically a piece of scrap paper I've got. This is just cartridge, not even cartridge paper. This is photocopier paper. So this is probably not far off. I mean, it's fairly good quality photocopy paper, but it's not far off like a bottom of the range good quality paper, if you see what I mean. It's, you know, classic sort of China clay paper. Smooth is what I'm saying. Really smooth. There's no tooth in this. That's important if you're working with pens and stuff like that. I'm going to show you why in a second. No grain, no tooth, no coarseness at all. Quite a thin, fine GSM. I wouldn't hazard what that is. It's not great for line work. It really isn't. So when you see really good line work, you can almost guarantee that people are working on good quality paper. And this is the thing as a beginner that you would never know, because you can't tell the kind of paper that people are working on. Let me show you something. Let me get rid of that. That was just a bit of an example of drawing lines. So let me show you this. This is my current black book. And I really didn't want to show most of this because I wanted to do a proper flip through, but it's sort of opportunities presenting itself. So if you look at a piece like this, and I use this for obvious reasons, there's lots of straight lines in it. Now, pulling straight lines, I've used a perspective on this, and I've used a fake perspective on this. And I've talked about this a little bit before. I'm slightly veering off on a tangent, but bear with me. This is a fake perspective. This is not a real perspective. There are no, so technically the vanishing points will be over here, because this is what's called a 2-point perspective. 2-point perspective is where you have a point here and a point here. Lines emanate from both points, and the lines you see line up with the lines that come from those points, and you get an image of perspective, except I haven't used the points. Because I'm quite experienced at doing this sort of stuff, I've imagined where the points are, and I've imagined where the perspective is. So if you were to really line it all up, you'd find that it doesn't all line up. But it doesn't matter, because it's the impact, because generally your eye and brain will buy it. That's the first thing to say. Second thing to say is that obviously you can see a lot of straight lines on there, right? There's loads of straight lines on there. And they were pretty easy to pull freehand. And one of the reasons is what I've just been talking about, which is this paper. This is a much higher quality paper than this, much higher quality. But it's what it is basically, in basic terms, is it's a thicker paper. And it's got a very slight tooth to it, a grain. So that when something is laid down on it, like when I pull a line with a Pigmographic 1, which is all the black line you can see on this work, if I pull that line, there is a slight resistance. Now that is ideally what you want. The more resistance you've got, the more control you have. It's the sort, you might call it the power of friction. Something that is causing friction is going to give you a bit more of a grip. That's another good word for it. It's a grip. It's gripping the paper. Now, anybody who's ever worked on like the London Tube map to do a little piece on the London Tube map, particularly with paint markers, that is like working on ice. It's highly slippy. It's very cheap, very thin paper, and it's glossy. It's got a slight gloss to it. And if you put paint on the top of that, you just slip and slide all over the place. It is a particular skill to be able to do the tube map. And when I'm talking about doing the tube map, I'm not talking about doing a massive sort of quick throwy on one. I'm talking about like doing really fine work. Look at Arrtx for reference here. Arrtx does some of the most amazing tube maps. Mir as well, OG Mir from VOP. Just, you know, like masters at doing the tube map. They must have done hundreds of tube maps in their time. And it is a tricky surface to work on. It's really, really tricky surface. So this surface, as a beginner, I would say, as a beginner, get some rough paper. Get something with a coarse grain. This isn't coarse grained. This is probably what you call smooth heavyweight. But you can get rougher paper than this. Something with a much rougher grain. And the reason I say this is because it's probably the stuff you're shying away from. It's probably the stuff you don't want to use because it's got a rougher grain, because it is thirstier for ink, by the way. It will consume more ink, but it will also be much more forgiving on your line work. It will be much grippier. You've got more of a grip on it when you're learning to pull a nice long line. Trying to pull a long line on something shiny and slick, much trickier. Yeah, you get used to it. Like anything else, you'll get used to it. But if you want to start, one thing I always say to beginners is this thing about, you want to see results quick. It's the same in anything you ever learn, right? You want to see results quick. You want to see yourself getting better, because that will encourage you to keep on doing it. If you just fail all the time, it's all right saying, yeah, you've got to fail a lot. If you fail all the time early on and you hate what you do, you're going to stop doing it. You're not going to do it because it's not going to be enjoyable. You're not going to like it, and it's going to bug you. So what I would say is do anything you can to get some nice results early on. And that is one thing you can do, is just get yourself a nice coarse paper to work on. So it'll give you more of a grip with your pens. Let's show you another piece. There you go. There's another one. So again, you know, I've worked out the perspective sort of in a rough kind of way in my head without proper perspective lines or anything like that. And then I've pulled these lines by hand. You could say they're not that long, those. They're not hugely long, but, you know, they're long enough. And the point that I made before is that all these lines, the slight sort of wibbly-wobbly imperfection of these lines, that's what makes, it's what helps to make, it's a contributing factor to my style. I could have done all this, including this here, all this could have been done with templates. Templates, straight edges, rulers. I could have done it perfect perspective, all that. And by the way, that is how I used to work. And I found it to be absolutely crippling. I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I sort of liked the results to begin with, but there was something dead about it. There was something that I couldn't see myself in it. I was not enjoying the work. It wasn't very alive. It just seemed sort of sterile, static, boring and dead. And I actually stopped drawing for a while, quite a while, because I wasn't getting any joy from it. It was quite miserable. This is the danger, right? This is what happens sometimes. So I stopped using straight edge, and it was a gift. It was one of the best things I ever did. So just to recap, this is just scrap. When you're drawing lines, draw them with confidence, right? Same way as we paint, from A to B. Don't give it too much thought, otherwise you'll get hung up on it. The paper you use will depend on how much grip you've got on it, how much friction there is under the nib. Inking is exactly the same. You can ink with fast strokes. If you ink with slower strokes, it's going to be more sort of wibbly wobbly and that kind of stuff, but that might be part of your style. It's certainly part of mine. I do that thing sometimes where I stop in the middle of a line as well and then carry on. Makes no difference to me. So materials go a long way for this. Again, I've endorsed them in the past, I'll endorse them again. Pigmographic 1. This is a rotring mechanical pencil, but honestly, you can get any pencil really. I would go for the 0.5. And the reason I recommend you go for 0.5 is because anything below a 0.5, your lead is going to snap a lot. I mean, the 0.5 snaps quite a lot if I press too hard or whatever. But I've not mentioned fine liners. The principle is the same anyway. With fine liners, often I'm working, I mean, you can see some lines here, but fine liners, I'm generally working shorter lines and stuff. And, you know, these are the ones really, because these are the outliners. These are the ones that do the big heavy lifting when it comes to the lines. So so that's why I mentioned them really. But yeah, anyway, there you go. That's a quick video about line work and stuff like that. If there's anything else you want to see, anything else you want to talk about in detail, stuff like that, then let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.